like a pack of coyotes. Oh, hello. How are you?
Oh, hi.
Hi. You
So
just caught us in the middle of our amazing meat meal. A nice, hard honey-baked ham from our good friends on the internet.
I'm really sorry about this. Hey, everybody, welcome to Podcast Beyond, episode 433.
Yeah?
We have a ham. We were literally sent a ham by a man named Joe Scott.
Hey, can we do that over? Hey, everyone, welcome to Podcast Beyond, episode, what was it? 373?
433.
433.
Dragon Collar back.
We have a ham! This is great! We made jokes about ham and they materialized like a bad magic wish.
It's really like the weirdest wish to be like, wow, let's make a bunch of jokes about hams, and then here's one shows up. Yeah, so as I mentioned, it's a Podcast Beyond. I'm Max Scoville, with me is Marty Sleva.
It's the best thing about this. Andrew and I were in Vegas when this whole ham thing happened, but we still get to eat the ham.
Yeah, that's right.
Brian
Is the
Altano,
ham actually good? All right,
What's up?
fine, I'll eat some ham.
Alana Pierce,
Hey, what's up?
and Andrew Goldfarb, who's cutting himself. It's already cut,
Yeah,
you
it's
idiot.
pre-cut.
You simpleton. Haven't you ever had a ham before?
Just one little piece. Just one little piece.
I'm so sorry. I have a splitting headache right now, and I think that the sodium in the ham will probably help that go away.
It should. It'll
That's
shake it
what's
right
up.
off.
Yeah, salt never makes a headache worse. Got a great show to talk about. Marty, you played 4 hours of Dark Souls 3.
A lot of Dark Souls 3.
What's up with that?
Well, Max. Yeah, so I played actually the first 4 hours of the game. We got to start right from the beginning, see the opening cutscene.
What's it about?
It's like
Dark Souls?
a man who dies and becomes a zombie and has to fight a bunch of other men, which is pretty much
there's
what
like
all the Souls
hundreds
games
and
are.
Sometimes
hundreds.
when he dies, he like double dies.
He double dies,
Like, he dies
yeah.
a lot.
And it's just like hundreds of wizards,
There's so many
Hundreds
wizards
of
in the
wizards.
skeletons, and
Large beasts.
But I mean, I'm super happy to say that the opening of the game is awesome. It's probably the closest thing they've ever done to a traditional sequel in terms of it is very much set in the same world as Dark Souls 1. You see similar, you come across the same characters. So you come across the Onion Knight and you come across the Blacksmith. And the Fire Maiden is pretty much the same person, and your hub is the new Firelink Shrine, which is what the Firelink Shrine was their hub in the first game. And so right from the get-go, you're like, oh, this is really interesting. And it's Miyazaki working on it again, and he didn't work on Dark Souls 2 because he was working on Bloodborne.
He's wearing Ponyo.
He's working on Ponyo, yes. Hayao Miyazaki, thank you so much.
Working on Totoro in between.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think the same guy did Bloodborne and Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah, right? Although Howl's Moving Castle seems like a Bloodborne boss,
Yeah,
actually.
that's
I'm gonna
pretty fair.
get
It
some
really
ham.
does.
Yeah.
Also, to clarify, they are
big-
actually different people.
They are separate people.
We're making
Yeah.
nice jokes.
Yeah.
Did you just
We're making
claw
very nice
off
jokes.
a piece?
Yeah, but the game's actually awesome. I think Brian's actually really going to like it. You haven't played a Souls game.
What? I have a mouthful of ham.
You really liked
and
Bloodborne, though, right?
I'm the same boat as Brian. I'm excited. Like, I played some Bloodborne. I didn't play quite as much as you, but like, I played it 9 months after everybody else. So like, this is the first time I'm going to jump into one of these games
Was that
when
a
everyone's
pregnancy thing?
playing.
Is that why
It was because I was pregnant when Bloodborne
So
came
when's
out.
this game out?
April 11th, I believe.
God, it's so close.
Playing Dark Souls games or even Demon Souls games, the best way to play them is when everyone else is playing them.
Yeah, because you can talk strategy. And,
Totally, and they're like one of the only games that I actually recommend that people either consult forums or read a walkthrough because they can be really frustratingly hard and
Because there's so many wizards.
there's just a lot of wizards to
There's just,
attack,
like,
a lot of
hundreds of wizards,
skeletons a
just
lot
a
of
lot
the
of
time,
different
hundreds
ones.
of wizards,
Yeah.
but
There's a wolf in this one, but not like a cute wolf. It's like a real mean ice wolf.
you'd still probably like it.
I'd still probably give it a big
Yeah.
hug if
But-
it would hug me. But it might eat me.
Point being, even if you have all of the right gear and you've read a walkthrough and it's helped you, the fighting is still up to you. So
Right.
I don't think it ever affects it.
They're
that
sort
much.
of intentionally obtuse, and I think
Yeah.
like that drives a lot of people away, especially in 2016 when games are pretty straightforward for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like Bloodborne is a lot easier.
Yeah, I feel like Bloodborne was my first Souls game, sort of.
Yeah.
And I feel like it walks a really fine line between the speed and, I don't want to say arcadey nature, but almost like Twitch-based nature of Bloodborne and the slower sword and board methodical nature of the Souls games. And so I think for people who played Bloodborne but didn't play, Dark Souls or Demon Souls, I think this is going to be that game, that like natural progression of, oh, what I learned in Bloodborne now can pass on to this.
There was
I would just say that the biggest thing is that like Dark Souls is a lot more like RPG heavy.
Yeah.
Like it's more focused on gear.
Sure, and there's a ton more gear in a Souls game than
Yeah.
in
There's
Bloodborne.
that awesome Dark Souls gift that was going around recently of the kind of the main character knight-looking guy walks into this dark cave and it lights up and this like four-legged skeleton dog monster comes towards
The
him.
guy just turns around
and he
like,
just turns around and runs away. And I was like, that's That should be the commercial.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how much it costs to put a GIF on TV, but take that and just put it on TV and just put the logo at the run it 10 times in a row and put the logo on TV. Because I don't think there's anything that's convinced me more to be like, you need this game. Because I love stuff like that.
Have you
Like,
played Dragon's Dogma?
Yes, I think I played it like a little bit at a preview event, but nothing more.
It's great. And there's
Okay.
this awesome part in Dragon's Dogma that I'll never forget where I just walked into this one dungeon with my party. You have pawns, and I think you have
Porns?
Porns. You have multiple
Porn.
porns.
Prawns?
pawn.
Like shrimp?
How do you say it? Pawn?
How do you say
Pawn.
like adult? What about adult films?
They sound exactly the same.
Same word.
Pornography.
Pawn and
Is that a
pawn.
big problem in Australia?
Yeah, it's very confusing.
For people who thought they were going to play
But we
chess
don't
that
really
night?
have pawn shops. But there's this one dungeon that I walked into, and it just had this giant Grim Reaper that's this huge black guy with a scythe, and he killed my entire party in one swing. And I was like, well, I'm out.
Your whole party in one swing?
Yeah.
God, that's horrible.
It was incredible. I was so excited, and I was like, "This is like the most terrified I've been of anything."
it-
And I was like, "I gotta leave and come back and level." And
Was it? I mean, because that's the thing. Like, I don't really find a lot of games scary. Like, there was a while when they were, and
it wasn't genuinely.
It wasn't genuinely scary. Like, the original Resident Evil games scared the crap out of me because I think a lot of that was based on the fact that you just don't move very well.
Yeah.
So that tank controls coupled with the fact that your inventory was severely limited, and there were legit jump scare things, which I think you do get. There was a good deal of those in Bloodborne, right? Which they never really overused it. But for the most part, like, games kind of have like spooky settings. But then don't actually scare you. Like, there was a bunch of those games that people went really crazy for on Twitch, stuff like Outlast. That's like, okay, so this is about a monster chasing you, but it never really seemed genuinely effective to me because it was always just
Slender bothered me a lot.
Mostly jump scares.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't. It was
Slend-
the knowing.
Yeah.
Also just like
Thing.
seeing stuff out of the corner of your eye and kind of like
Yeah.
sitting with you.
Slender was legitimately haunting.
And
I'll
I
give
feel
you
like
that.
I feel like some of the fear in
are
Souls
these-
game or even Bloodborne,
is
those
that?
are called crispy critters. Some of the fear in those.
Oh, it's the brown
games-
sugar they put in the ham.
Yeah.
It's actually
That's very good. Have you guys tried
honey. They baked the
No,
Try
I'm,
it.
I'm still talking about Dark
What's
Souls.
this, like a
I'm
snack
listening, Marty. It's fine.
of one of these things?
Yeah, try one of the little ham crumbles.
I feel like the fear you were talking about isn't
Oh, yeah,
so
that's
much
pure sugar.
our.
I'm listening to you. I'm sorry.
There's a ham here.
Every now and then, a PlayStation family gathers around a
handful
hot
of brown
ham.
sugar.
Also, this should be at Namco's booth for Dark Souls 3.
Can somebody help me with this?
Yeah.
With that gross.
Stop,
Yeah.
stop picking at the ham.
But back to what you were talking
Help me
about.
out. Oh, forget it. I'll just take that.
No, it's less
Fine,
fear
fine.
and more of there's tension because there's actual stakes.
Yeah, I don't
And-
think those games are.
Steaks?
Oh my god.
Also, if we could get steaks in the mail, that'd be amazing.
No, please don't send steaks in the mail.
Or whiskey. But no, it's
I
because
agree. They're not actually horror scary. They're tension scary. So you're constantly on
and they're
edge.
tension because you're like, hey, I've been playing for 20 minutes and I've accumulated 30,000 souls, and if I die, I'm gonna lose it all to
Yeah.
this dog that I probably won't beat next time.
And you might not be able to get them back.
Yeah,
sometimes.
totally. And so it's one of those like this game did a great job. I fought 3 separate bosses. One was this sort of giant ancient knight that when I grabbed a sword from his back, he rose. One was a scary ice dog who killed me many times. And
good
then
old
one was
ice
a
dog.
giant tree monster, that vagina thing.
Wow.
Every couple bosses in a
Sometimes
Dark Souls game
I
have
just
vagina
think like maybe I hate video games
Why?
because they're so scary. They're so full of bad things.
thing. Yeah.
Look at that. You tell you get beat up by a tree vagina. It's real awful.
You don't have to play those games.
It's
I know.
just
I
the
could play the
Deku
one
tree.
about
It's
cooking
fine.
an animal or
It's
whatever.
just the
Yeah.
Deku tree.
Yeah.
Now I can't see the Deku tree different ever.
It's a tree vagina.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about that one that Kirby's always messing with? That
Oh,
big
that's the Wispy Willows.
Cubby himself may actually be a giant
apple
vagina.
bastard.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a weird tree
Let's find
because
out.
it's like that tree has apples that drops, and then the Kirby uses them to kill the tree,
Yeah.
which is like if I threw your son at you.
Yeah, Cubby's a sadistic.
Anyway,
Are we?
Let's talk about some news.
How many swears do we have so far? Yeah, so
That's two. That's
this is
two.
a piece of information that I'm extremely hopeful about. There's a rumor floating around that Battlefield 5 will be set in World War I. Have we had a friggin' World War I game
no.
at all on that scale?
I mean, it's been a while.
We've never had a World War I game. We've
I don't
had
think that's
plenty of
true.
World War. I mean,
In
nothing,
Battlefield and Call of Duty, I don't know if we have.
We
but-
don't
Or
even
in
have
Brothers in
war
Arms,
games
yeah.
that would take place in 2016 anymore.
But
like,
Valiant
we don't even
Hearts,
have
though.
those.
dogs.
Yeah, I
Valiant
mean
Hearts
that's
is a great game.
Valiant Hearts is awesome, and you can pet that dog with
You can.
the PS4 touchpad.
You can.
Yeah, World War I is very different than World War II. It's not even what we think of as war games. It's like
it's horrific.
Yeah, it's just people getting like
gas.
destroyed by gas in trenches.
It's just a
exactly.
lot of gas.
Yeah.
And I
And
don't
that's
know
why,
how they
like-
make a game out of that.
But I think you.
We're gonna have a
I
lot of
would
gas
hope.
after we eat this ham.
Oh my god.
I should leave.
I would hope it is a more human element. Like maybe it's more about that. It's more about like people in the trenches and their soldiers and their friends, and it's like more about like your friends are dying all around you, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah.
Like
I mean, they can't. I don't know how you can even make a Battlefield length campaign based around World War One in that it is so much gas, unless they make it like a stealth game.
yeah,
Like
assassinating the
full-on
Archduke.
That's literally
That
was
could
how
be-
that was how the war started.
That's really
Yeah.
weird. I was going to say that
First campaign mission.
World War One is specifically like, I mean, it's very battlefield centric, like in a literal sense. Like
Yeah.
trench warfare is incredibly reliant on how the battlefield is set up, like the way that the tide of battle, like the way the wind is blowing, which seems like something that they might want to play with. Like maybe that's why we haven't had a good World War One game. Is that like, yes, there's a lot of gas, and it's like you kind of need good like technology to make that work, to make a game mechanic out of that.
Has verticality in modern first person shooters like destroyed any of that though? Because I feel like, I mean, I'm totally down with it, but I feel like the gaming populace at large is so used to jumping up walls or jetpacking, or even like the last Battlefield game was just like climb to the top of a skyscraper in Los Angeles. It's not really a lot of like hide in a hole and hope I don't get gas.
What if there's just
I mean,
really
yeah.
crappy flying machines? There's just like you get the
Like a bicycle?
You get the
World
Kitty
War-
Hawk and
yeah.
you go like 20 miles an hour.
World War One to me is slow paced, whereas
Definitely.
every modern FPS is fast paced.
I mean, the only fast-paced things that happened in World War One were people who were sent to get shot and die to hopefully build a barricade of bodies so that other people didn't die.
Yeah.
Like, it's horrific.
Yeah,
Seems
I mean,
really-
my thing
seems
is
really weird.
It's like World War One is potentially like ripe for a great story in something. I don't know
Valiant
through
Hearts
video
was
games.
beautiful.
Yeah, totally. But I don't know if that can exist in the structure of what a first-person shooter is in 2016.
And especially
Yeah.
a Battlefield, it's like, okay,
That's
so
exactly what I'm asking.
Let's say you have the most touching story of all time. It's the best first-person shooter campaign ever. That's awesome. What the hell is the multiplayer? Like,
Sure.
what is the Battlefield
Are you
5
literally
gameplay?
jumping out of like your Red Baron plane onto someone else's plane? I mean, there
mean,
were
maybe.
submarines in this war. There were battleships, but this was World War One, and I guess like whatever 50 years beforehand, Civil War was sort of that like that tipping point of old technology finally meeting what is known as
Yep.
current
sounds-
technology and modern
Sounds fascinating.
yeah. So
You
like,
also- I mean,
especially
you
with it's going to be in, if it is Battlefield, it's going to be running in Frostbite. It's going to look incredible.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gonna
But
be
And
you
on
also
that
tread on
note-
dangerous territory there, in that you're potentially making something that's so realistic that's based on an actual real event that friends or families of families have survived or been through.
Yeah,
like
see, at least Valiant Hearts
grandchildren
dealt
of people
with it
being like,
tastefully.
hey, yeah. I think like Valiant Hearts was sort of like here's a cartoon narrative taking place in this world from the perspective of the dog. It changed things around significantly. This would be sort of like this.
you didn't
what?
play that game, did you?
Yeah, well, I mean, you play as the dog.
No, you don't.
No,
You don't play as a dog?
The dog encounters all the people you play.
Well, that's
Yeah.
kind of
the
what I
dog
mean.
is like the common link.
The dog's the last boss.
He's like your Navi.
You got to fight the dog at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened in World War One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets huge. He's got all these muscles and stuff. You got to punch him a bunch.
Either way, I think that like
Point being.
it's a safer bet making a futuristic war game because it's like you get to wall jump and you don't get like you're not gonna.
You don't have to
You're
think
not
too
gonna-
hard about it.
You don't have to think too hard about
Yeah,
it.
but
Yeah.
Exactly.
People are getting fatigued. Like all these games, sort
Battle
of
fatigue?
like Battle Fatigue, Battle Fatigue 5.
That's what I was going to say. On
Yeah.
that note, I think this is the fact that we're talking about this, and it's still going to be a shooter. It's still a war-based shooter. Having it in World War One is so different to what we're used to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, to be honest, to be totally honest, in terms of the way we put this show together and what we're into, I don't think Battlefield 5 would have ever been on this list right now if it was just another contemporary set game. I
Yeah.
think the only reason we're talking about it is because World War One is
It's
new
different.
and interesting.
and because
Yeah.
we've talked about sort of
New
that
and
pendulum.
interesting?
Yes.
World War One is so
Great
hip
War.
in
Did you know
2016.
World War One wasn't called World War One until World War Two? It was just called the Great
The
War.
Great War.
Amazing.
Fun fact.
I mean,
Yeah.
are we at the point where new ideas are so tired that pulling an old one out is new?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
it's the,
Pretty
it's
much
the
what it
pendulum,
is, right?
It's
Yeah.
the pendulum shit.
It's actually really interesting because I asked Eric Hirschberg at E3, and that's the head of Activision
brag.
Publishing, if he thought that the pendulum would swing back. And if he thought that we would go back to World War II. And he actually had a really good, insightful answer, which was like, obviously. He was like, those stories, there's so much that happened, and the history is so rich that, like, yeah, there's all this fatigue. And we're like, oh, there have been so many World War II games, but, like, they've barely scratched the surface of the
Right.
stories you can tell. And to Marty's point, it's like,
They don't have that whole part with the Yetis.
Yeah, the Yetis and the
Yetis.
aliens.
It's very significant.
And when Superman first came to Earth.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like in all seriousness, like World War I has so many stories, and whether it's like Valiant Hearts where it's based on truth, like it's based on actual events, or if it's like based on a fictional campaign
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
So what I think would be really cool, which I sort of want from every game, is that every mission in this is just a different short story. It's like you're not going to
Yeah.
tell a good single 5-hour story in this thing. So tell a bunch of really interesting half-hour stories.
Yeah.
That's what I've said. I sort of
I
wanted
feel like
Silent Hills
that's
to
you
be.
want out of everything ever, though.
Yes, because I don't think 99% of video games can't tell an interesting story over the course of multiple hours.
Yeah.
Like you could tell,
Well, yeah,
like
because
some
they
of
have
the
to
best video
drag it
game
out and it
stories are
gets
2 hours
muddied.
long.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I love Bioshock Burial at Sea.
Totally. Yeah.
Because it condenses something that's really
Yeah, or
cool
like
into a
Minerva's
really
Den.
small
Yeah.
package.
Yeah.
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 But
or like Firewatch or Gone Home or any of
on
those
that note,
things.
like Battlefield has been around for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
We've had like Vietnam 1942, but they haven't even touched World War I before. So I don't know if this is like something like it's swinging around. Like,
Right.
I think this is an interesting decision.
I hope you
And-
can get in a hot air balloon and throw gas bombs out at people. And they're just,
Also, I hope
they have
this
to run in and hide
rumor
in
isn't bull-
Oh
because
yeah, wait, can we actually?
this a rumor?
Can you say where
Yeah.
it came from?
So
Yeah.
this came from a listing on a German retailer. Like none
Oh,
of this
God
has been
damn
announced.
it.
So like, I mean, like we're assuming. I don't know. Like this is new and exciting, and I hope it's true. But we should also say like EA hasn't confirmed anything.
It's also
like,
a
we don't
PlayStation
know.
5 launch game, which comes out tomorrow.
Yes, exactly.
So if you're listening now,
along
that's
with No Man's
today.
Sky.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
the listing, it's listed as a multiplayer tactical shooter in World
Yes.
War I.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
actually listed as a Mehrspieler Taktik
Mehr
Shooter
Spieler
im
Taktik
One
Shooter im
Weltkrieg.
Weltkrieg.
Yes.
Confund.
But no, it also says it's
no.
coming out October 26th, which is it's interesting because Battlefield took a year off. Obviously, we had Battlefront last year, and there will be DLC for that like well into the year. But by fall, I think they'll switch their focus. For a while, they were doing Battlefield
Wait,
and Medal of Honor.
wasn't the Cups and Rubbers one was last year, wasn't it?
Hardline.
It was
Hardline.
1 year
was-
ago right now. It was
Yes,
March.
it was the
Yeah.
beginning of last year. Yeah, but they took fall off in favor of Battlefront coming out, and I think they're settling into that rhythm of one and the other. I mean,
Yeah.
it used to be Call of Duty is now in a 3-year cycle, but for the longest time they were doing Infinity Ward and then Treyarch, and Battlefield meanwhile was alternating with Medal
Oh,
of
yeah.
Honor.
I mean,
Medal
I totally
of Honor died
think Battlefield 5 will be this fall, and then Battlefront 2 or
next
whatever
year.
will be
Yep.
next.
Yeah.
That makes
Yep.
sense.
I think that's true.
So-
So, do you think this will be proper Battlefield 5, or do you think this will be Battlefield : something?
Battlefield, Battle of the Doughboys.
It would be weird.
I mean, Battlefield: The Great War.
Hot air balloons
Yes,
full
I mean,
of
you could
gas.
call it
Yeah.
Battlefield: The Great War.
I wonder if it will be.
Great War is a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I-
wonder if that title is more appealing than Battlefield 5.
More and more, I
Totally.
fail to see the value in putting a dumb old number in your title. Like, it doesn't really help anything.
The
some new
five
numbers in
games
there.
are
Five?
five.
Invent something new.
People like 5 games.
Do they?
Assassin's
Yeah.
Creed never
Like
made
what?
it 5.
No,
Yeah.
they didn't, and no one liked that one because they didn't call it 5. They called it Unity.
No, that's not even
Which was
5
just
technically.
confusing.
What's 5? 3 is 5, I think.
Yeah, 3 is 5.
3 is
Yeah.
5.
But if you're going to count 3 as 3 and then
But then 4 is
Flag
6?
is 4,
This is like Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Didn't Rogue come out first?
No, Rogue came out the same
that
day
didn't
as
count because
Unity.
it was last gen.
I mean, what's your favorite? Metal
you
Gear
did a
Solid
good job
5 and
arguing
GTA
that.
5 are the only two that I can
Street
remember.
Fighter 5,
Street Fighter 5, I guess, yeah.
Tekken 5,
Final Fantasy 5.
Final
Yeah.
Fantasy 5.
And those
Dragon
are-
Quest 5 is
Persona
awesome.
5.
Shut up, Andrew. That's never
It's
coming
still
out.
doing it like
you.
Street Fighter 5 is basically Street Fighter 40, and Metal Gear Solid 5 is Metal Gear Solid 40.
Did you ever play
Like,
Mario 5?
No.
Super Mario 5 was
Mega Man
crazy.
5?
They stopped counting after 3.
Zelda
No,
5.
No, Mario World was yeah.
I
I
can't
don't
wait
know
for
what
Zelda
Zelda 5
5
was, but I'm sure I would have
Jinx.
liked it.
Zelda
All
5
right,
was
so we're getting real stupid.
Ocarina.
Let's
Yep.
pull back a tiny bit and get unstupid for just a moment. Let's all gaze upon this wonderful honey-baked ham provided to us by listener Joe Scott. Here's something that actually fills me
Sweet,
with...
sweet meats
Yes, yes.
inside of every bite
Thank you, Brian.
of a honey-baked ham.
Yes. God, I wish we were sponsored by hams. So, this is something that kind
Said
of fills...
everyone but the ham
Shut
because
up,
he's
Brian.
the one getting eaten.
Stop it. Stop it. Just shut up for a second.
This ham was fed nothing but salts and sugars his entire life.
So no Activision booth at E3.
Sweet boy.
I'm hosting the
COD event
show.
later this year.
Sort of. Why am I here?
Go home.
There's no Activision booth at E3. There's already no EA booth. This is kind of a big tell.
It's getting
when
weird this year.
The two biggest publishers are basically pumping the brakes on.
EA having like a separate event
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Well, and so Activision has passed in a booth before. This wouldn't be the first time. They did some behind closed doors meetings and had no actual big floor presence, I think in like 2012.
Yeah.
So it's like not the first time it's happened, but it is interesting that the two biggest third parties are doing this at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Activision, so this actually broke like an hour before we recorded today. They also said there will be a community event giving fans insight and access to the world of Call of Duty. They make it sound like that'll happen this fall. that's really interesting because that sounds like what EA is doing. That sounds like a basically open to the public event. They did Call of Duty XP like years ago.
Yeah, I think it was 2012.
But they haven't done anything.
Kanye performed at it.
That's right.
So if Kanye performs at this, I want to go to it.
I like Marty's crossover history of his Kanye history interlapping with his work.
Just that
Interlapping.
one
Yeah,
thing.
interlapped.
Overlapping?
Piggytail.
I would love to do a brief history of rappers at E3 with you one day.
Oh my
It'd be really
God.
great.
That's awesome.
Like
the
your Method
time,
Man and Red Band
yeah,
story?
the time they got me contact high, because they hotboxed the room I did an interview in moments later.
Incredible.
Right.
Brought to you by Ham.
Snoop's been E3 a bunch.
Speaking of content,
But yeah, the Activision thing basically sounds like the exact same thing as EA. And I remember someone telling me back when I wasn't in the country, there was a similar thing like a few years ago where E3 was like split.
E3 2007 was in Santa Monica at a bunch of hotels, basically. So rather than be at the LA Convention Center, they tried to scale it down to being at like a bunch of different locations.
Do we think this is where this is going again?
I think what we're
No.
seeing is a Nintendo Direct approach where their publishers are basically taking their content directly to the public because we're in an age where fandom is king.
And I mean, a lot of those kids might have YouTube channels.
Exactly.
Well, and that's the thing. Now people want to just play. I mean, it's not like 20 years ago when you could only read about it in magazines. Like, yeah, you could look at pictures and whatever, but it's like now, like people. I mean, you could release a demo live from stage and have someone playing in their house anyway.
We went to a Sony convention in San Francisco last year. Like that's a huge thing. I think that we're going to see much less of a Star Wars and Disney presence at Comic-Con because they're going to be pushing more to D23 because they have their own
Star Wars
property.
Celebration.
Yeah, exactly. I think seeing more specialized conventions is going to be very much a thing moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think this is like a huge
Man,
the
if
Call of Duty.
Nintendo had one of those.
There's
though?
Minecon. I mean,
Yeah.
on the flip side, like it sounds like
QuakeCon.
everybody's pulling out of E3, but Take-Two said that they're going to have a bigger presence
Well,
than
and
ever.
that's the thing. No one's and this is a really weird splitting hairs thing, but no one's really pulling out of E3.
Right.
Like Activision made it super clear that Infinity Ward's Call of Duty will be there. It'll be on stage. They're doing their PlayStation partnership stuff. Like we're still going to see games from EA and Activision that week. So it's not like the week of E3 has become any less relevant. I think for us, for people who are on the show floor, it might just be different because it's more of their physical booth presence that's changing rather than like the game presence.
That's kind of showing the waning relevance of a trade show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
And also the fact that E3 like floor space there is obscenely expensive.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just really interested legitimately to see, so two major booths in the same hall are no longer going to be there. Like,
And
what
especially
takes
EA.
that space?
EA has been the centerpiece
EA
the
was
second
huge
you
last
enter
year.
South
Star
Hall.
Wars booth?
Yeah. Like when you come in, it's literally the first thing you see in South Hall. It's that gigantic like central presence.
Well, that means it'll be a
Arena.
whole lot quieter.
So
It's
now
gonna
you're
be
wondering
great.
if like Take-Two is going to have their own thing, or if Deep Silver is going to have a huge thing, or
Yeah.
these sort of not up and comers because obviously Take-Two isn't.
Or Disney. I mean, like honestly, I can
Yeah.
see Disney
Ukulele.
leaning super hard.
Yeah.
It's the ukulele booth. It's
Yeah.
the Persona
Hell
booth, obviously.
yeah.
But you saying the Take-Two thing remind me, like the thing I find super interesting about that is by then, Take-Two owns 2K.
Take-Two owns 2K and Rockstar
So
and
by
whatever Kendall
then,
Beans game is.
Battleborn will already be out. So we can expect that means Mafia 3.
Yeah,
There'll be a big
definitely.
Mafia 3
I think
push.
that's a given.
Yeah.
But then everyone's always like, Rockstar never does E3. It's like, well, maybe for Red Dead, which we all assume is their next game, they would, because GTA is bigger than everything else in the games industry.
Yeah.
Red Dead isn't. Red Dead is still a cowboy game that's had two games, one of which was really big
It's
and
also
one of
that
which
like
wasn't.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. You know how like Bethesda didn't really have Fallout playable anywhere.
Sure.
I think it's the same kind of thing where you wouldn't want someone to play just like a small handful of GTA because it's really hard to sell. Whereas Red Dead, you could give someone one particularly cool
Mission.
train heist
Yeah.
style
Yeah.
mission, and
Yeah.
that would be fun. Whereas GTA, it's like you need the broader picture.
Yeah.
I feel like Red Dead's in a better place now, assuming it's real and assuming it's happening.
Yes.
Coming off of basically from the makers of GTA 5, which is one of the best-selling games of all time. It's kind of like if Daisy Ridley did a Western, a bunch of people would go see it because they just saw her in Force Awakens, and they're just like, well, that's a good commercial for the next thing. But I think you guys are right, and it's also like, yeah, historically, if they haven't been in E3, that doesn't mean they won't be forever.
Also, don't forget
I just think they haven't needed
WB.
to.
Like,
Yeah.
there's all these other third parties that have
the Warner
plenty of
Bros?
cool things they can show. And I'm still holding out hope. If Take-Two is going big, I'm really holding out hope that it's BioShock. Like, I don't
I
think
mean,
that
what
franchise
Bioshock
could be.
was the fallout this year of like, hey, here's what Bioshock 4 is. and it's coming
that
this
would be
fall.
awesome.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
But on the note of, I keep saying on the note for some reason today.
You're
I've
on-
heard
you-
myself
but
say it like
you've
4
really been
times.
on the note.
You're on a
On
new
the
drug
note.
called Note.
The note or the node?
While I'm on Note, I
Note.
can speak clearly.
Yeah.
Pawn or porn?
Of Rockstar being too big for E3, I think that's why they haven't been there before, and that's why, like, why do they need E3? Why do they need to spend that money to show Red Dead, especially off the back of GTA 5?
Yeah, they don't. They've never actually had to piggyback off of trade shows or hype established by the
and even less now that GTA 5 was so
I think
successful.
you guys are wrong. I think Red Dead does need that. I think GTA absolutely does not need that, but I think everyone in this room loves Red Dead and knows what Red Dead is, but I don't think the general populace does. Like, I don't think
the general populace even knew Fallout until, like, I mean, you have to remember that, like, these games, like, sold well, but not like Call of Duty, GTA well.
Yeah.
Like,
I have a really skewed vision by working around people who play games that I assume everyone.
Like, I have a bunch of buddies back home who they're in the industry, but they play games and they buy a couple games a year, and all of them know what GTA is, and none of them know what Red Dead is.
Interesting. Yeah.
Also, my friends are idiots.
It's also an easy way to win E3.
Yeah.
Like, if you're sitting on a bunch of trailers,
there's also
just be Rockstar.
There's also talk of like a new IP, like a new stuff. I think didn't Take-Two say they're going to be showing off something brand new, like that we haven't.
They just
heard
said they're going to have a big. They're going to go big or something.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're leaning into
they're going
Rockstar.
ham.
Rockstar has always
going ham. Yeah.
They've always kind of whole hog. They always play their. Stop eating the ham, Brian.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
Never.
Yes. I think it's more likely we're going to see 2K doing something, like whether it's, I don't know, Borderlands 3 or something at a Gearbox or, you know, whatever it is. But I just
How
feel
about
like
NBA?
yeah, the
Hoop God's coming
basketball is.
I mean, that's the funny thing is.
NBA basketball.
Titular Hero Basketball has returned to bounce again in the upcoming sequel to last year's Basketball.
Revenge of the Dunks.
I don't think. First of all, Max mentioned Borderlands. I should say, in the interest of full disclosure, I worked at Gearbox for 14 months.
Do you have to do this forever?
If you mention
I
Borderlands,
don't think anyone's telling him to. He just chose to.
Borderlands.
But no,
Borderlands.
Also, I don't think NBA or WWE ever has to be at one of these.
Well,
Like,
no, you're right.
WWE
You're right.
is always going to be at WrestleMania.
I mean,
NBA is also going to
It's
rely
like
on
half
its own
that you
thing.
don't need to market them because everyone knows what they are because they're the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, but they do. I mean, they do with FIFA.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. EA pushes FIFA. I mean, that's a really good point.
Hold on, but like
everyone needs to
this
take
whole logic
hot
of like
naps.
somebody doesn't have to be at E3 because their game's big enough on its own. Like, then what the hell does Call of Duty take up 40 minutes of each press conference for every year?
But that's what's so interesting
It's
is
in the
like
interest of time.
Call of
Yeah.
Duty is such a Call of Duty is totally this is their market. Like Call of Duty makes perfect sense at E3, whereas like I don't think World of Warcraft, like Blizzard isn't there because they don't need that E3 audience because they're totally doing their own thing and they're so much bigger than that.
Yeah.
Like once you reach a certain critical mass, like I think Call of Duty, yeah, it's like kind of a perpetual motion thing. Like I think the name will sell it for years to come.
But isn't 2K
like,
that same kind of audience?
I mean, is it? I don't know. Like
I don't think so.
I don't think any of their games are. I don't think 2K has anything that is as big.
2K is very different. Like wrestling and basketball are very
wrestling?
different. Oh, wrestling. Yeah. Have you ever done a
Basketball?
WrestleFest?
I've always thought they were pretty much the same sport.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying.
And
that's
FIFA.
Basketball and
They're all the
wrestling.
same thing. I think.
Everyone knows what the general populace knows what those things
The only
are.
difference
because
is the
they exist,
basketball
whereas
players wear shoes.
Yeah.
The
wrestlers
wrestlers
absolutely wear
they
shoes.
all have bare feet.
Nope,
Yeah,
that's not
it's
true.
very
They all
strange.
kick each other in the
No,
feet.
that's
Oh, that would be so much grosser if they had bare
Kick each
feet.
other a lot. They got
They
sweat all over
used
the
to.
place.
I mean, that's like
Yeah.
Greco-Roman
Remember when
wrestling.
the one man cried because the snake died?
All right, we should move on.
What?
Okay.
You want to do it?
Yeah, I could say it.
I did my I say when I'm about to talk thing.
Uncharted 4
run out of the
multiplayer. Uncharted 4 multiplayer beta is happening this weekend. Once again, they're stress testing it. They're seeing how people like to do the grappling hook stuff and unleash demons out of weird shift-robes and collect those gems.
We'll almost
think
certainly
it's
be
very
streaming. We'll be streaming that live on IGN. Plays live on Friday.
So it begins 9 a.m. Pacific time on Friday
Yeah.
and goes to midnight Pacific on the morning of the 7th.
And
I
is this
love-
open? Is this open for everybody?
This is open,
Yeah.
which I love.
So
I
much-
think open betas are so much
Well,
more
you
exciting
said
than
that.
tiny closed ones because I think you get kind of that feeling of what it'll actually be like.
Yeah. I
It
would
ends
say
on
that.
March 6th at 11:59 PT.
Spooky.
It's available on the PlayStation Store now.
Yeah, Uncharted 4 multiplayer is really odd. I think because it's
I think it's interesting.
it's cool, but I think that it's also with the story side of it, they're leaning very, very heavily into cinematic and
Yep.
kind of changing the tone of the series, and it's like very, very weighted with gravitas. And then this is really kind of goofy,
Yeah, and like
It is,
Sully
actually.
they have like magical powers and
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's
It
like,
feels comic booky.
yeah.
I feel like it's
Ooh, yes.
almost it's almost misrepresentative of Uncharted
Making
4.
personal
Yeah.
jokes that people on this podcast won't know, but it's it is. I think they're almost two separate packages,
Yeah.
and I think they need to be covered totally separately.
I think that crosstalk will get you shot in the face with a crossbow. Okay,
That was him.
I
He
will
whispered
karate
to me.
chop you into.
me, you piece of trash. That
I will
was
bring
him.
your world down in fire.
That was him, the hairy
Quit
one.
sassing me. You've eaten so much ham on this show.
That was the rat.
He's waiting for swear words, I think. He's like,
Yeah.
wait,
Max
okay,
already-
Anyway,
swear.
Here's a swear.
Uncharted multiplayer feels like something I'll do after I finish the single player campaign. Like, I don't care about this at all right now.
I think it's
like,
dumb they're calling it Uncharted 4 multiplayer. They should just call it Uncharted Online.
Yeah.
Like in the same
That
way
would
that
make a
GTA
lot more
Online
sense.
and Metal Gear
MGO,
Online.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's not like The Last of Us multiplayer, which like made sense
Yeah.
in the game world. This is
I mean,
magic-y.
they have to
fun
because
stuff.
Uncharted 4 Online makes it sound like it's a giant open world with people jumping all over the place, and I could jump in and be a soldier while someone else is Nathan
Also
Drake,
true.
and like it's not. It's,
Yeah.
Oh, I want to play
it's
that.
arena-based.
I do think
Spell magic
it's
shooting.
fun. Like I will say that like
It's
playing
fun.
what little I played of Uncharted 4 is already infinitely more fun than I had with Uncharted 3's multiplayer, which I kind of dabbled
it's
in and
really
walked
cool.
away from.
It's dessert.
Yeah,
I want
agree
my
with that.
meat.
Yeah, but this is also
I want my meat steaks.
this is pre-dessert.
I want my big Nathan Drake ham.
This is like a
My hearty honey baked ham.
This is a dessert appetizer because you get to play it this weekend. I'm gonna play it this weekend because there's nothing else to play. There's a
talking
lot of
about?
other stuff to play.
Pokemon.
So I've played it.
I'm not gonna play Pokemon Yellow, you boy.
Wait, why? Did you just call Pokemon childish and you're all laughing about that?
No, I think
About
he's
a
just
bunch of
calling me
baby
childish.
animals.
Oh yeah, is that
He's calling me
shocking to you?
Andrew didn't go to a bar last weekend because he was too busy catching a war turtle.
I respect that. Also, you can't catch a Wartortle in Pokemon Yellow.
Hey, she's got a point.
So, I think you'll find he got it from.
All right.
What about a Blastoise?
So-
Isn't that a?
No, someone gives you the 3 starters
Shut
from
up.
the other
It's
one.
pronounced Blastoise.
the
It's
actual answer.
French.
Toi, Sabatier.
But back to Uncharted, I think it's really fun, but it's also a thing that I've played once, and maybe I'll play it again this weekend. But I don't think it's gonna have a lot of life.
Sure.
It's silly.
No one like. I
People
would
got really into 3 though.
You know what?
When
I
they
would
played
love to
multiplayer.
That's
know
true.
Yeah.
if. Do you think there's even 100 people who are going to buy Uncharted 4 day one and load up multiplayer before starting the campaign?
Yes, believe it or not,
Wow.
yes. I do
Really?
think that there's it is probably 100 people, but I do think there's like that super dedicated, like Uncharted 3, it went on endlessly. Like they kept, I don't know if you guys remember that they kept doing DLC drops for it. Like Naughty
Yeah.
Dog
Yep.
supported the hell out of Uncharted 3 multiplayer, and like it developed like a really, really faithful, good community. And I think Last of Us multiplayer did the same thing, but it's so different that I think whatever that community is from Uncharted 3, whoever those people are that are still really into it, they will play it in this. I
Day
think
one?
it's super minority though. Yeah, I mean, I totally think there are people who are going to get the band back together and play the way they played Uncharted 3, but I think it is like a fraction of a percent of the people who are going to play
Yeah.
multiplayer, or I mean campaign.
Okay. So on that note, we got some sass. Phil Spencer, the king of Xbox.
Crunch.
so good at that.
He's the Xbox head. I guess somebody on Twitter. Who put this in here? This
so
is
I put this in
incoherent.
there. It's fine. It's fine. I got.
Explain
I got
it to
this.
me.
Someone tweeted at Phil Spencer.
It's not about ham. Max doesn't understand it.
Someone tweeted at Phil Spencer and asked him what games is he most excited for this year, and he said Gears, and then he said the Division beta has been amazing, and that he's going
You
to
getting
get
a couple
flack
rips
for
to
it.
that ham?
Let's split this.
I don't want that with you.
Just
You
eat
can't
the- eat
interrupt
the
him
ham.
talking about video games to talk about ham. You're
Yeah,
gonna
you
get
have
the
to-
show taken
you
off
have to
the
eat
air.
the ham silently.
It's not even on the air. It's on the internet. There's no air on the internet.
Oh, Brian's sad.
That's why there's no sound.
Brian looks guilty. But then Phil Spencer also said that he's super stoked for Uncharted 4, that he knows the game's going to be great. And then someone tweeted at him, quote, Xbox head, end quote, talking about how great UC4 will be. Just wave the white flag already. This is embarrassing, sad to say. And then Phil, who's incredible, responded, we should all applaud when a team does something special. Those who hope that a team fails due to platform aren't real gamers.
I hate that he
How-
pulled the real gamers thing, but I also don't think that's embarrassing at all. I
No.
think that's great. He shows that he cares about games.
Of course.
No, I
Guess
think-
what?
wait,
Guess what developers
Phil?
do?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think it's incredible. I think what he
No,
said was-
she's talking about the other guy.
I really agree with Wrath 93. 93 is the best year to be born.
Yeah. Was this you?
That's my yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I think that's incredible, and I think it's I don't know. I'm just like the console war thing is so boring. It's such a boring narrative, and it's such a stupid thing to talk about.
Did you guys see like those interviews they did with like Henry Cavill about the Avengers, or the Robert Downey Jr. Captain America thing on Twitter about Deadpool?
Yeah,
like
that was great.
this is okay. It's okay when people from sort of competing sections of the world enjoy each other's work, because ultimately, as this guy said, it's all good for the industry.
And ultimately, they're all in it together. Like
Yeah.
if the PS4 completely fails, that's
Yeah.
not good for the Xbox.
No, yeah.
That's not good for the
Let's
industry.
break that down really quickly. You don't want a monopoly in video games. You,
I love
like,
Monopoly.
You don't even want Monopoly video games.
I
They
would love
suck.
Monopoly. They're
you
great.
can get a really
I
easy
wanna play as
700
Get a
game
piece. Get
goal.
one of the crappy ones on your phone then.
You can easy platinum the Monopoly arcade.
Okay,
game,
that's
just
great
saying.
if that's what you're into. So what I'm saying is,
I am.
yeah, maybe you are. Have fun with that later. You play that board game.
I already platinumed it.
Damn it, Alana.
I bet that game has a weird name.
Eat your ham.
It's called Mr. Moneyman.
No, so what happens when one company beats the other one like crazy? You get horrible things. Like when you look at the PS2 coming out of that generation, and when the PS3 was announced, they're like, we're going to sell it for $600. And in a way, they could. And that almost happened. That was almost the reality that we all lived in. And they said things changed and people were competitive. Like you want the people making games to play other games because then their games get better. And you want the people making game consoles to be looking at the other game consoles because then their game consoles get better. Like this is how things improve. Competition is the most healthy thing in the world. Isolation is dangerous.
Oxygen.
No, competition is better than water.
And vitamins?
And vitamins.
Wow.
If they have no competition, then they have no reason to improve because they're going to make money anyway.
Thank you.
So
Yep.
it's
Thus,
completely
the whole
pointless.
Madden thing. When NFL 2K stopped, when Sega lost the license to that, it was like, oh, now Madden can rest
Yep.
on its laurels because there's literally nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like John Madden does in his car because he's afraid of flying.
Will you
He's
stop talking about that?
He's
I bet he would eat-
aviophobic.
I bet he would eat this thing.
Oh, he would eat that thing in a heartbeat. He would
draw
put that thing
arrows all
inside.
over it, and then
He would put that thing inside of a living pig and eat it out.
Ew.
Yeah, it's
All
John
right.
Madden. He's crazy.
So anyway,
That dude eats his dogs. But he won't get on a
saying?
plane.
This is, I mean, something we should touch on briefly. I don't think we need to get super
is
into
that
it.
we don't want to be offending anybody who loves John Madden or
Yeah,
even
I
eating
apologize
ham
for
out
the
of
Madden
living
mistake.
pigs.
No, just I wanted to briefly talk about the new firmware for PS4.
Firmware update. Firmware. Put the knife down.
we were doing
Sorry, we don't really talk about firmware updates on this show, so I'm really excited. It's our first time talking about firmware updates.
It's
Patch notes.
Brian, I just want to say that was beautiful.
Thanks.
That
a
was
lot.
really well done.
It was going well until my
John Madden would be proud.
my
Until you were
comrade over here
knife.
lifted a sword in the air.
No, just new firmware's coming. The big kind of
3.50.
The temple things I think we care about are remote play on PC and Mac, which is something they've been talking about for months now. But you'll be able to play other than on your Vita, on your Sony TV, on your PS Vita TV, whatever. You'll also be able to play on a PC or a Mac, which is really cool.
Wait, so you're going to be able to, if you have like a computer you business travel with and you go to a faraway land where you've got a computer connection, you can hack into your own PS4 and play PS4
Yeah.
games?
Yep.
Yeah. Or if you're
Which was like when I went to TGS 2 years ago, Destin was playing Destiny on a Vita.
Were you playing Bryony?
that was really
I was really
He's
trying to
playing
think of a way
Brian
to
H
make
on his
that joke,
DS,
but
okay?
you did it.
Brian H.
But no, I think the remote play stuff is cool. And then
Very
the big thing, which I know, weirdly, Alana, you were just talking about recently, you can finally appear offline on PSN.
Playing offline. Patch notes.
Which sounds like such a minor thing, but it's really, really nice. That's been on Xbox for forever.
Yeah, I actually made a second, so I have Charalongzad as one of my accounts, and then I made a second account on PSN because I couldn't
Called
appear offline.
Charalonazard.
Yeah. Where I have
Okay,
three
that
friends.
joke sucked, but so did his. Everyone laughed at his.
I
Brian.
liked both of your jokes.
Brian is very funny.
Whatever.
All of your jokes.
What else can we do?
Sorry, Brian, you're getting enough laughs.
Also-
I take all the laughs all the time.
Also,
so
finally,
I know you really need
You
to
are the
do
funniest person on
finally,
Beyond.
we can change our PSN names.
Nope, that's not true.
Change
That's
it.
not true.
That's
That's
not
not
true.
True at all.
Yeah.
Still can't do that.
I do think that'll happen.
This
I
is
can't
cool.
imagine
There's a
they won't let it
user
happen.
scheduled event, so you can schedule play dates.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of cool.
I think that's really fun. I mean,
Isn't-
that would have been awesome for when Battlefront was out, if we could have actually gone
Had
ahead
a nice
and
play date.
gotten teams together.
Isn't the reason that you can't change your name? It's something to do with they don't want people to effectively be anonymous.
No,
want
they
people
just
to be
can't. They
responsible.
can't do it because
I think-
it's the way the network was
'Cause it's magic.
structured to begin with.
I think its purchases are
Also 'cause
tied
our-
to
yeah.
Names
specifically
are
your
wizards?
name.
Names are all hella sick.
I think
that's
Shuhei
true.
Yoshida single-handedly fixed this 8 years ago and is just laughing.
Yeah.
I think all he does is laugh, which is wonderful.
I like the way that Xbox does it, which is that you have to pay to change your name. And I think you can also only do it once in every, 30 days or whatever it is, which I think is really smart. Because then it makes people not just
Also, I
change
like
their name.
accountability, personally. If you did a stupid thing as a kid, that's your pockmark you have to wear for the rest of your life.
Is that all? Is that it for patch notes?
I think it is.
Punch those bounce, bounce, bounce. Back me up. Get your sword.
Brian.
Bounce,
don't
Get your sword.
Firmware bounce, playing all alone offline.
I'm
Thanks,
really
Brian.
scared of knives.
3.50.
No, I thought you were going to say 3.6 Mafia.
No, I'm not. That's a copyright infringement.
You know, this show has gotten so much worse since I started hosting it.
Yeah.
This episode is an actual disaster.
I agree
But
with
anyway,
all of the
continuing
emails
on
that
A
you
to
got.
butcher's dozen.
our
Are
idea
we
first
all
on
sober?
Golem.
I'm completely sober.
I think there's a
sober?
lot of alcohol in this ham.
But the last thing before we get to the
Whiskey
rapid
bacon.
fire. Oh, what if there was alcohol in the ham? Is that our IGN first this month is for Golem, which is a PSVR title that is
Precious.
by Highwire Studios. And you don't know them because they have never made a game, but they are a bunch of former Bungie and Insomniac people, including Marty O'Donnell, who you will know as the man who did the Halo music.
Who has the same first name as you, Marty.
And the same last name is Chris O'Donnell, who played Robin.
Yes,
But
and he was in
also-
Mad Love with Drew Barrymore.
That's true.
The name of an original Pokemon. Am I
O'Donnell?
right? Golem.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
It's a good Pokemon.
Jesus
Great.
Christ.
He was also in that movie about those kids with no shoes on.
That's not. They're not kids. That's not his name.
They're totally kids.
The movie's called Lord of the Rings. You're thinking of a different movie.
It's like, how did you?
They're 100% kids.
You're thinking Lord of the, you're thinking Lord of the
You guys
Flies.
speak such an interesting language.
Yeah.
Like you immediately knew what he was referring
kids
to.
with
I
no
was like,
shoes on.
that could be any movie.
I was
They're
legitimately-
hobbits?
No, I
They're
was
called
actually,
halflings?
I
They're
was
different-
actually thinking of
Chris.
kids.
I was thinking of Chris O'Donnell.
Oh,
I was trying to figure
totally
out.
thinking of the movie Kids.
They're not kids. They're young.
That was amazing.
They're not.
They're not
no,
even young.
Hobbits?
They're actually
Yeah.
like 100 years old.
Definitely
Bilbo's
not.
111th
Bilbo's 111.
Whatever. I watched Star Wars.
But
You
yeah,
didn't
so-
know what Harry Potter was about.
I still don't know. I thought it was about a bunch of kids
thought-
that live in a house that go to school at, and they gay ride brooms, and then wizards attack their teachers.
There,
that is sort of what it's-
there are hundreds of wizards in those books.
Wizards
All right.
attack their teacher. I
Yeah.
love it. It's great.
I mean, that is kind of what it's about. But yeah, so all month on March, we're going to have stuff on Golem, which is a PSVR title, which looks pretty cool.
It does
You,
actually. Look
you have to
really
wear a
cool.
hat to play it, though, right?
Yeah, you have to wear a baseball cap that has the logo of a like a man with a ball.
Okay.
Yeah.
That seems like a very lazy logo for a baseball
Going for
team.
broke.
Just a man with a ball.
We're the New York Baseballers.
That wouldn't be too bad.
All right, so
New
it's
York
time for.
baseball team.
It's time for rapid
Yeah,
fire.
make a bunch of noises in the microphone, Brian. People seem to like when you do that.
Yeah, they do, Max. you
Yeah.
cranky pants.
Come over to my house and watch Avatar with me sometime.
I'd love to, but that
guys are
movie's
so cute.
trash.
That deleted scene in the beginning is pretty cool, though. He's in a wheelchair, gets in a bar fight.
If I want to go to your house and look at the garbage, I'll look inside the garbage can.
Well, joke's on you. I threw garbage all over the yard.
Yeah, you throw it on your TV every time you watch Avatar. Anyway, Rapid Fire is a fun wing thing we do in the Podcast Beyond Facebook group, which you can do by searching for Podcast Beyond Facebook group on Facebook or the URL, which I never remember.
Every literally just shout into your phone and it probably comes up.
Yeah.
Andrew's just staring at you like, what?
What do you want? Okay, I think this ham's really fermented and I'm tripping.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like 4 of you right now.
Andrew's totally thinking, he's like, man, I miss Greg and Kyle.
So do we. Yeah, they would never do 20 minutes on ham on the hypothetical abortion podcast.
God.
Not once. Yeah, that's the thing they said. They used to say that. And then
Oh,
when
that
we
was
took
such a
over the
good
show,
episode,
people
though.
were like, you guys are too
Then
off
it became
topic.
a literal abortion of a podcast.
Yikes.
All right, moving on.
What? Anyway, so every week I go on the Podcast Beyond Facebook group and I ask you questions so that we don't have to hear Max talk. Eric Freshly asks, whatever happened to cell shading in games? It seems to only exist in Borderlands these days. Do you miss it?
Man, there was a period where we got this so much.
Yeah.
With
Do you remember
Jet
that
Set Radio.
Auto Modelista?
Yeah, Auto Modelista. Yanya Calabrista, which was, do you guys remember that game?
No, that's a real game?
Yeah, it was a skateboarding game.
Yanya
for P-
Calabrista?
No,
Yeah,
You're lying.
it was a skateboarding game, and it came with a little fingerboard that you put across the DualShock's 2 nubs,
Oh,
and you did
no,
like
he's not
kickflips.
lying. That's real. I didn't know that it was called.
That's the stupidest
that.
thing I've ever heard.
Yanya?
Yeah, Yanya Calabrista.
I wonder
I
why
never
that
wanna-
wasn't a hit
I'm gonna
franchise.
be honest. I'm not sure if that was the name of the game.
No, that
but
sounds like a
it's-
celebrity chef.
It's definitely ballpark that.
Okay.
I totally prefer cell shading to like hyper realistic attempts.
Yeah, and it lasts
creative.
longer. I mean, like even like actual cell shading, Wind Waker like looks so much better
Waker
than
looks great.
Twilight Princess.
I think
like it
Okami
makes
looks
it
really
ageless.
good.
Yeah, and I think it
Cell
just photorealistic styles will fade because graphics will get better,
Absolutely.
whereas like something that has that more animated look will
You
last
can play
longer.
it forever.
and-
Yeah.
Good
I feel
art
like there's a
direction.
timeline on a lot of
you
the
read
games that
that?
I want to go back and play that I'm like, I can't because the graphics are so bad. So it's like they age too far for me to still enjoy them. So I'm like, I
Yes.
need to play them as soon as I can before they get gross. Whereas stuff like Wind Waker isn't ever really going to stuff.
Yeah,
Did you
and
guys
Wind
see
Waker
that,
looks incredible on Wii U as opposed to Twilight Princess, which is
beautiful.
like it looks good in motion, but when you
I
look
don't know
it
what
up
those
close,
games are. They're not for PlayStation.
Oh my god, it is 100% called Yanya Calabrista.
What the hell?
Wow, I really thought you made that up.
Did you guys see that that Skyrim mod that came out where they basically turned off the textures and basically made that game look cell shaded?
It
And
looks
Cool.
so cool.
it looks it's one of those things like if they actually like did that at the back end, it'd be gorgeous and amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
It's so
awesome.
much.
Yeah.
It's so atmospheric.
Sorry, I took a little tear of ham.
You had a totally straight, unhappy looking face, and you took a bite of ham and had a big smile.
I know. That's how ham works.
So the next question is from Ronan Fox, who asked, "Are Naughty
Thanks,
Dog
Alana.
making the right decision to end the Uncharted series?"
Yes.
Again, they've only
They're
said
not-
it's Nathan Drake ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that Uncharted as a thing could continue.
Totally.
But that said, if it didn't, like assuming this has a satisfying conclusion, I'm fine with 4.
Yeah, I think it's too big with the IP is too big for them to actually just completely give it up. They're gonna keep doing it. But my whole thing of like, if this game does somehow backdoor introduce a like passing of the torch, that didn't work well for Indiana Jones whatsoever. So
It didn't even work for Red Dead.
no, I mean we don't know.
I mean, it
Well,
didn't
true.
work well for Indiana Jones because they didn't try. Like they had his son or whatever the hell Shia
Mutt.
LaBeouf was.
Mutt.
But yeah, that's
But
right.
then a year later, Shia LaBeouf was like, "That movie was terrible, and I hated being in it." And Steven Spielberg really screwed that up, and they weren't going to be like, "Oh yeah, here's a reward, your own trilogy."
I kept hoping that the kid who's in the back seat of that car during the car chase across campus was going to be the main character of the next
Oh
movie.
really?
It was him. It was
that
Andrew.
you?
He was in
yeah.
the back seat of that car.
I'm
and
in
like,
a lot of those college scenes. Like they reused. There were like 80 of us that are just like I played 6 humans in that movie because I'm in the same place at like 4 different times because they
Good, you,
filmed it all
you barely
concurrently.
play one in real life. It's a joke. Have some ham. Anyway, Colin Alexander Durstein says, "What breakfast cereal would make the best video game adaptation?" Recently, I was really crapping all over Captain Crunch because I think it's a terrible cereal and it tastes like old yellow rocks and it rips up your mouth. And I don't like the fact that he legalized a mistake in his factory and put out Oops All Berries. He should have just owned up to his mistake and swept up the garbage in his house. But I think it'd be a really cool story about going on the 7 seas as an old captain and you have to fight these goop monsters to try to get on your boat. And then there's a mistake in your factory and you have to go take care of
That's
it.
a good idea.
There's peanut butter and stuff too.
yeah, I mean, there's like Lucky Charms seems like an easy like 3D character platformer.
Tricks.
Okay.
I don't want
You're
easy
the Tricks
3D
Rabbit and
character
people are
platform.
taking away your
Tricks Rabbit would kind of be an endless runner where children are chasing you
Yeah.
because you stole cereal that has your damn name on
I
the
want
box.
a Cookie Crisp GTA where you
Oh,
go
where you
around
could
and stealing
Yeah.
cookies and
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alana, did you guys have
Oh.
cereal in, what was your favorite cereal in Australia?
No.
Did you?
muesli.
Oh yeah, millennials don't eat cereal anymore
That's
because
right.
it doesn't look good in
banned it in
photographs.
Weet Bix? Do you
1993.
guys have Weet Bix?
No.
No, we
My
don't have
favorite was
Wheat
Wheat
Bix.
Wheat Bix?
Weed Bix?
Well, who was the animal on the
box?
box?
so offended. You're like, no, we don't have Weet Bix.
What was the cartoon animal on the box?
It was a cricket player.
like was he
When you
actual
said
cricket?
I was like,
No, it was like sponsored by.
So he was
various-
just a man? That's not
Yeah,
a
it was a
cartoon
man.
animal. That's just a man.
Was he
Yeah, he
like
looked
a
cartoony.
was he a cricket though?
Yeah, that's what I said.
No,
was he
he was
like a
a
This
little?
is the
player.
most boring looking cereal ever.
a lot of. Why are the pieces so big?
Ew, no, that's Wheat Bix. It's Wheat Bix.
Oh, sorry.
Get rid of the
I
A.
apologize.
Yeah,
I apologize.
A really
I
good
think
game.
it's like Shane Warne was on the cover or something.
Oh, Shane won.
Shane Warne.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is somehow more boring.
It looks like Ziploc bags, but it's food.
Wheat Bix looks horrible. Man, I feel really bad for you guys.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
I
they're actual
put a lot of sugar on it.
Would you
the
play
a-
a Wheat Bix video
Look
game?
look at the flag.
Stop it.
This is the hardest I've ever seen you laugh at anything, and it's Australian cereal.
Why are you just laughing at the Australian
Day limited
flag?
edition pack.
He's like, look at the dumb Australian flag.
Because it's hilarious. They don't put the
Thanks,
American
Andrew.
flag on Captain Crunch. Ham.
But the actual best,
He's British.
the best video game would be all the Monster cereals. If you were
Oh,
Count
yeah,
Chocula,
that-
Blueberry,
Duh.
Yummy Mummy.
Castlevania with the monster cereals.
The packaging looks like aluminum foil. This
Stop.
is so weird.
I just
Please stop making
I'm
fun
sorry,
of it.
Wheat
It's
Bix
a
looks like...
sanitarium on the top.
That's the company name.
Dude, that looks like a box of tampons. I'm sorry.
The company that makes Wheat Bix is called
What kind of
Sanitarium.
pretty
tampons you
sure.
been buying?
That is literally an insane asylum.
Don't buy them.
in Until Dawn?
Yes.
Until Dawn.
All
like
right.
that game. Oh.
So
Kevin Jackson says, what don't you
Shut
like?
up, Andrew.
They have a weird
Andrew,
banana
put 'em
man
away.
mascot.
Put it away. Kevin Kevin Jackson says, "What don't you like about the games industry, despite aside from Andrew
Misogyny.
Goldfarb?"
Everyone in this room.
Yeah, misogyny is a very big problem
Yeah,
in the
that's
games
an
industry.
awful problem.
I think just general. So I was thinking about this question because it's a very good question. But I think when I read a book, I fundamentally understand how that book was written. Because I've written paragraphs before, and when I watch a movie, like I get how movies are made because I've turned my phone around and filmed something, like to the very tiniest degree. But games, I think most people have no idea how difficult it is to make a game. So when they play one, they kind of expect so much out of it that they have no kind of understanding of how that would even work.
And we've talked, like Marty and I were just talking about this at DICE, which is that idea of if you're a student filmmaker and you want to make a movie, and I'm like, okay, like, all right, let's say I'm in my house and I'm like, I really want to make a movie. I have my kitchen, I have a camera, I can sit Brian and Alana down at a table, and I can shoot a scene in a kitchen, contemporary
Weet
2016, eating some Wheat Bix. It's really easy. Whereas if I want to make that same scene in a video game, whether it's in my kitchen or in a space station or on Mars or whatever the hell, like you still have to model every bit of it. Like you would still have to model that table, model the Wheat Bix.
You have to make gravity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's a really, like, the proposition of setting out to make a game is fundamentally different than writing a book or making a movie, because you can sit at your desk and for no money, basically, you can do that.
Yeah.
Whereas for a game, like, you have to create characters, you have to have an artist,
do
you have
that
to
with a
have
book.
physics. With a book?
I
You
mean,
just describe
you
the
create
scene
a
you're in.
universe and then make up a scene.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's easy to do, but I'm just saying I can do it for free with a computer and I can type.
Right.
Whereas, and for a movie, as long as I have a camera, I can set it up and film people. Whereas for a game, like, whether it's
You need a lot of
mundane in
different
2016 or set 1,000 years in the future, either way, you're making everything from scratch. And that requires artists. That requires talent in programming. That requires talent in art and
Yeah, I
writing
mean-
and
Yeah.
everything.
Until it becomes like plug and play, and you've got like, I mean, I don't know if you've seen like the new Unreal Engine, but it's all like kind of drawing like strings between stuff, and it's very, very visual, like the way of you block stuff out, which is a big step up from like lines and lines
Well,
of
and
code.
people are saying that the idea of developing games in VR is going to be a thing that makes it much more like user intuitive.
Or even something like Dreams. I mean, like, Dreams is like a really good example of just creating something and like applying little rule sets to it. And basically, like, you or I can theoretically do things that, like, 10 years ago would have taken days and days of work, whereas now you're just basically taking some cotton candy and shaping it into what you need.
Similar thing with Project Spark.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how that's really an answer to the question.
Well, the answer to that question is one of the things I don't like about the games industry is its sort of fundamental lack of understanding from most gamers in how things are made. And I think that lack of understanding leads to a lot of sort of asking for the moon and being upset when you don't get it, when that gets in turn put in the face of developers where they're consistently called lazy.
Yeah.
But that's
by
tied into
people.
what we were just saying.
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's all connected.
In a movie, it's, you know what a director is, you know what a set designer is, like, you know the basic 12 roles that are going to make that set. Whereas in a game, like, you might not understand that, like, it takes 15 texture artists in some case to cover a world. It takes, like, that's why Firewatch is so incredible, because that was one environment artist.
Yeah.
Whereas,
Pretty
like,
game.
you have other games that have, like, a team of people making each section of the world. And, like, creating the world of GTA, and people are like, oh, man, I want to wait for 6 years in between titles or whatever. It's like the fact that they can make a world, like, make a essentially like a continent that you can cross, maybe not a continent, but like an entire city that you can cross, is incredible. That
But
they can
even-
do that.
even
They
then,
took like
people are like-
300,000 pitches and
Yeah.
they put a ton of effort.
But even
in
then,
that.
people are like, how come I can't open up the fridge and
Right.
take out the milk and
Exactly.
drink it?
I want to go in every house.
What I don't like about the games industry is kind of representative of what I don't like about games in general, which is that I think they create. I don't want to smear gamers, but I think that there's something to be said about the fact that it's a medium that you are a part of. It is interactive, therefore you kind of invest some of your own. Like, your involvement is part of it. Like reading a book, if you finish a book, you're like, yeah, I finished that book. But if you beat a game, there's a sense of accomplishment in that you've had a challenge presented to you and that you have some kind of a role in it. Obviously, like, if you don't pick up the controller and play the game, that game does not play itself. You know, whereas a movie, that movie continues to exist. That movie will always exist in some form because somebody made it.
It's kind of beautiful.
Beating a game is effectively sort of having your own role in it. You know, it's interactive. Like, I mean, there's no other way to put it. But everyone also has a different experience. But I think there's kind of a takeaway where you think that you're like, there's such a kind of cerebral investment because you do take on these challenges. So there's almost an entitlement that I think comes with that, where it's like, if you're good at games, your opinion on games is more valuable. I don't know. It's like it's a different.
I feel
it's
like
the
you're all
same-
pointing at issues with the game's community.
Well, I'm saying
rather than the
it's
industry?
systematic. It's attached to the
Community
games
is the
themselves.
industry.
You know.
Yeah.
Also
I would
the fact
consider the
that
industry to be devs.
okay. So also the fact that games have grown up alongside the internet, and that it's kind of had this. There's been this kind of soapbox that's gone with. Like there is a very different culture surrounding every other form of media on the internet because it's just like it's weird. You could play games on your computer before you could watch movies on your computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
before you could listen to music on
That's
your
true.
computer.
I also totally agree with the point of like people thinking that
Yeah.
you being good at a game means that you have more of a valid opinion. I've
Yeah.
had someone before be like, "How are you qualified to review games? Like, what's your KTD or whatever?" I'm like, "What the hell does that have to do
Yeah.
with my critical voice? Like,
Exactly.
that's ridiculous. That doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense at all."
right.
But to attach that, it's also the fact that they are rooted in being products, and because of
Yeah.
that, and because of the fact that they are so expensive to make, they're fundamentally safer as a medium.
Yeah.
The fact that you can have, like, we're seeing the beginning of indie games, like the fact that, you know, like comic books were originally made by two people, and maybe they'd be working for a larger company to, like, you know, pay the bills or whatever, and they'd be forced to do genre stuff.
Yeah.
Eventually, you wind up with, you know, weird things made by two people in their room, and they're like, "Well, we're broke, but we're making this thing we care about." You're seeing the beginning of that with video games, you know, with you know, Firewatch and The Witness and things like
Yeah.
that. But even then, it is an obscenely expensive thing to create.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this
And-
sort of ties into sort of going along with that, and then I think more towards what Alana was saying. It ties into what the last question is. I think up until relatively recently, the sort of developer voice has been largely homogenized. It's sort of been the voice of a very single group of.
Let's jump into that then,
Yeah.
because finally Matt Sweeney says, with all the Oscars happening on Sunday, there was obviously talk of Hollywood whitewashing. What are your thoughts on that? Is that reflected in video games? And I think for Kevin Jackson's question about the games industry and what we don't like, Alana's kind of right. I think we leaned a little heavily on sort of the games community around that. But I think a lot of what I don't like, aside from sort of like exclusivity culture, which makes, if you look at something like Watch Dogs, like the grid of how to get all the content in that game was basically impossible. But one of the big issues, and Max and I were just talking about this the other day, is sort of that lack of diversity and perspective and voice that comes from video game protagonists and the video game industry by and large. But I don't think that's just white people not hiring non-white people. I think it goes deeper culturally than that. So what do you guys think?
Well, video games are they are a privileged medium.
Yeah.
It costs $400 to get the box that lets you play the things. You know, like they show movies on TV. You can get books for free out of the library. Like there's a certain kind of like price of admission that I think kind of comes with privilege, for lack of a better word, or for lack of a word that doesn't make some people uncomfortable. You know, and that's kind of it. It's like having access to a computer to learn how to code and get into game development is something that requires a computer. Again, an expensive thing. So it, you know.
It's also
it's a cycle a little bit. Like one of the things I said about Firewatch is that I feel like the female character in that game is super unnatural, and all the things that she says, I'm like, I don't think that a woman would say that, but all of the guys I know who've played it are like, oh no, I thought she was great. I'm like, I'm pretty sure she was written by a man,
Right.
And guys see her as natural, but I feel like a lot of women wouldn't. So it's like this constant cycle where it's like, something isn't made for me, then I don't enjoy it as much, but then I don't want to make it because I don't enjoy it as much. Or whatever, so it just keeps going.
Well, that's the thing that pushes people away, right? That's that sort of vicious cycle mentality. But I will say that, like, as the son of European immigrants, having a video game console in my house growing up was like the devil. Like, there was I by all means shouldn't be sitting here in this room right now, because my parents were like, my parents are teachers, and my dad's a professor, and my mom's an architect, and they didn't want me sitting in front of my television twiddling my thumbs, which is literally what they called it. They're like, you just sit there and twiddle your thumbs, and I'm like, no, I'm creating stories. Like I'm learning problem solving. I'm learning interactions. I'm learning narrative, and I'm learning overcoming adversity, and my friends are coming over. This is a social thing for me. But my parents were like, we don't want this. And when my grades dipped, they took my Nintendo and they hid it in the house. And then I had the best video game puzzle of all time, which is find it, without trying to find anything that your parents don't want you to find.
Turns out it was in a pot of sauce, just a big pot of sauce with an NES in the middle of it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what it is. Speaking of Italy. But I think there's a lot of cultures that don't bring people up in a video game household, and that automatically sort of creates somebody that isn't a gamer from the jump, and then doesn't grow up to start coding or developing games, or voice acting or painting or drawing. You get driven into very specific fields, and not all of them overlap with what video games are comprised of. So that's kind of a big problem culturally. And Max, you were telling me something to that extent the other day too, right?
I mean, yeah.
About your fiance.
Yeah. So she's she's Vietnamese. She's a dentist. There's that old cliched stereotype about Asians being doctors and dentists and scientists and what is it, STEM fields,
Yeah.
And there is an emphasis on getting into smart stuff, like doing your homework and getting good grades and succeeding and getting a real job.
Yeah.
And there's, I feel like, less encouragement in more artsy stuff. And that's obviously a huge generalization, but I've seen that with her family. Like there's more of an emphasis, whereas my mom was all like artsy fartsy, like she grew up in the 60s and was like a hippie, and she's like, yeah, you should do art, you should pursue your things. But coincidentally, she also hated me playing video games.
Yeah.
Whereas video games were totally fair game for my fiance. Her parents were like, yeah, whatever, you're inside, you're not.
Such a different experience. Like,
There's get in trouble.
I got into games because of my mom, and like thinking about it now, the games that I played featured a bear and a female bird. And then there was like Jet Force Gemini, thank you, I played a lot of, which has playable female character.
Yeah.
And there's Perfect Dark, another playable female character. Like, I don't know if my parents picked those games based on that. I can't imagine they would have, but they were so fine with me
I
playing
think
games.
things were already shifting by the time you came into the fray,
mid to late 90s.
Yeah,
like
we
grew up with
97.
I grew up with like Duke Nukem, and it was just like
Top
this.
look.
Like,
He's my favorite woman.
yeah,
in
and
video games.
obviously giant white elephant in the room, but there's 5 white people sitting in this
yeah.
room right
Oh,
now
yeah.
talking about diversity and why games should be more diverse. Like the problem is right here as well, and a big problem with that is we hire the people who apply for jobs, and if less people are applying for the jobs than should, then you end up with a bunch of white people, and that kind of sucks. Like. So the way to fix that is if you are outside of just the usual mass of whiteness that surrounds the earth, be loud, get heard, do stuff right, make
Or
video
is the
games,
onus
draw,
on
paint,
us
like
to talk about them more.
it is, but that's all part of it, right? But like you did an article yesterday that was like a gallery of black cosplay, which is people of color cosplaying as different characters, and a lot of the comments were like, well, why is this just covering one part of it? Because that's how problems don't get solved.
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing that happened with people when we started bringing up the misogyny in games issue. They're like, well, everyone on the internet deals with harassment, and that's a kind of good way to or a bad way to kind of just be like, well, the problem's bigger than just the small problem. It's a big problem, so you should address the big problem. And you're like, well,
Or
no, you
just
have
not
to
address it. Seems
or
to
not
be the
address it at
attitude.
all,
It's
which
like,
is what
the
usually
problem's
happens.
Huge. Just walk away.
So I think if you start small, you can grow from there and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And like we always say in these things, I don't think anyone is saying that every character needs to now suddenly be a black Asian female. Like we don't have to take every strong white male in every game and replace them with that, because it's not a like Control F replace all type of situation. It's we need stories written from the ground up for characters from different perspectives, and not just like a palette swap. Like it's deeper than that.
I think writing is very important.
It's like what you said about Firewatch, where you're like, okay, you have this cool female character, but once you get into it, you're like, her writing's not believable to me.
Yeah, I don't think she speaks like a woman at all.
Yeah, so ultimately that's something that needs to be fixed from the writing perspective. And I think the Oscars were the same way. That problem doesn't start with black actors being given roles that were meant for Leonardo DiCaprio. It starts with writers writing roles that are meant for great black actors and actresses.
But also casting people like. I was reading something yesterday about how more white women who are playing Asian women have won Oscars than Asian women.
Well, that's
which is crazy.
Yeah. You can. I don't know how many times I cursed there. No, but that's. I mean, that's. That's obviously a huge problem, and I think it's like we're seeing a lot of it in comic book movie stuff too, and they're sort of just like, well, it doesn't really matter because this is all magical and fantastic and nonsensical, so I guess it doesn't matter. But like, it does to a lot of people. So because some people just grow up being like, this is the only character I can identify with. If you're
and I think that can be a really hard thing to explain to people who identify with a lot of characters.
Yeah,
that's something that people who are used to seeing themselves represented in media don't understand why it's a problem, because they have that comfort in so many things. Whereas people who don't will be like, well, where's someone who's like me who can teach me that I can do this cool stuff and make me feel like a part of this story.
I mean, and I'm clearly not black, but I grew up with my mom telling me like, Italians aren't like Super Mario. They're not like The Sopranos. Like no one in my family has never whacked anybody. Like we don't stand at funerals with our arms crossed.
I've personally seen you kill dozens of turtles.
Hundreds.
Jumping on them.
Yeah.
You go down to the park and you fish them out.
Yeah.
Usually
Yeah, I've
on
seen that
mushrooms.
I just love
Start
plumbing.
a lot of fires.
I really love plumbing. I just really love rooting my hands around in those old
Well,
turds.
you do really like pizza.
I do really
do.
love pizza.
Remember when you wore
Same.
that cape for a long time?
Yeah.
That was very strange.
And I rode that dinosaur.
Yeah, you surgically had a raccoon tail
Yeah.
just put right
I
in
missed
your...
that, Brian.
I've always liked Duke
Wake-up.
Nukem because he looks just like me.
Yeah.
We look the same.
But I like Alana. I
Nukem
think
Nukem.
it's fascinating that you can tell your story of growing up in the games industry and being like, obviously, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. But the games that you started with already had a better representation of females than the games I started with.
That's totally
true. So that means the games.
Which is something I kind of wasn't even aware of.
Yeah.
My sister really likes games as well and has kind of always played games. Again, it's hard to say because everyone I know is in the games community, but I feel like a lot of women I know play games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this is going to be the most divisive episode we've ever recorded because
Yeah.
we spent half of it yelling over each other and talking about ham, and then we went into, SJW territory. We're going to
Yep.
get scolded
This
by
one's
the
a
computer
disaster.
people.
But-
Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in, everybody.
I also just want to make the very obvious note that criticizing video games as a medium does not mean that we don't like them.
Yeah.
Also,
Love them. That's why I'm here.
that applies to literally everything.
Yeah.
True.
Criticizing something does not mean you hate it.
Usually means you like it because you want
Yeah.
it to be better.
Brian is criticizing me constantly, and I love him because I have
Exactly.
Stockholm syndrome.
Exactly.
That's how that works.
Go
guys
look at
gonna
the
make out?
1-star reviews on Amazon, and most of those people really wanted to enjoy the thing they bought, that garlic press or whatever the hell. Got them to write those crazy people that would do that.
I own 3 copies of Tango and Cash, and I hate that movie.
Do you really?
No, I love that movie, but that movie is horrible.
No, my question was really about the 3 copies.
I think I gave one away by accident to the trash man by throwing it in the garbage. Anyway, thank you for listening to Podcast Beyond. Tango and Cash is an interesting
I'm starting to
film.
feel real hot from all this ham.
It's very warm in here.
It's got the meat. You get the meat sweats real bad, real greased up from the honey glaze and the...
It does not look
That
good
sounds
from
like
that.
sex.
I'm sorry, Alana. I did not see it from that side.
Oh, yeah, it's
from
nice.
right here, it's a
That
very
nice
beautiful,
vagina.
got a good shred.
Looks like
right
a-
up here in the front.
Looks
Yeah,
like
it looks
a
like a
video game
not pretty.
enemy.
1 out of every 3 Bloodborne bosses.
All right, so if you have any questions about why in God's name did they let us do this podcast, you can email them to us, beyond@ign.com. Brian is going up to the camera to show off a picture of the ham if you're watching this on video. If you've never seen us on video,
Piece of it fell.
Ew.
stop, just take it.
There he is. It's the ham
Thank you for listening.
This is fun.
Thank you for listening. And once again, thank you for listening, and we're sorry.
Beyond.
Yeah.
Beyond.
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 Ham.
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 Thanks for listening.